Career room, do you need us? Just keep testing, we will have to move on. So Sophia is proudly a 2011 electrical engineering graduate of our great university. She obtained her master's degree in electrical electronics engineering, where she specialized in power electronics at the University of Ryukyu, Okinawa, Japan. She works as a solar engineer at Solar World Co. Limited, Japan, alongside pursuing a PhD in artificial intelligence for predicting solar outcomes. Sophie is the founder and CEO of Smart Tech Savvy, an IT company providing marketing and branding services for businesses around the world. She has over 8 years experience in the power industry. You're welcome on the panel, Sophia.
Thank you very much, IJ.
So I'll move to our second speaker, who is Ndukwe Onwoha. Ndukwe is a 2010 graduate of mechanical engineering, UNN. He has been a part of different design and construction projects, providing CAD engineering services to engineering teams. He has developed a series of consumer and engineering hardware products. He's currently leading Sinverk. I hope I pronounced that well. Sinverk, an organization. Okay, thank you. An organization that he founded to start up mechanical equipment, system design, and manufacturing operation in Aba, Nigeria. You're welcome on this panel. You're welcome to the panel.
Thank you.
Thank you. Then we move on to David. Okay, I'll just make David a co-host because I see he has changed. David, we don't have you on video. We can't see you. So if we see you, we'll make you the spotlight to you. Oh yeah, I see you now.
Right. Okay. Hi everyone. Nice being here, and thanks for this opportunity to talk about our experience and see how we could inspire people to even do more.
Cool. So I'm just going to introduce you briefly. David is an electronic engineering graduate of UNN and is better known as a disruptive innovations technology consultant with a wide range of interests, from Internet of Things, big data, smart cities, and smart homes. He started his career in the telecommunications sector and worked briefly as a sales analyst for Etisalat, Nigeria. He has now gone ahead to become the founder and chief innovation officer of Wiretooth Technologies, a digital transformation consultancy company in Africa. He's also the founder and CEO of Finaclusion, a digital financial inclusion platform that automates group savings, group lending, and cooperatives. Among other roles, David is also a guest facilitator at Lagos Business School on big data and business analytics. Thank you, David, for creating our time to be on this panel.
Thank you very much.
And last but not the least, on the list of panels, we have Uzo Chukwu Mbamalo. Uzo is an electronic engineering graduate who has shown great passion for energy and sustainability. Uzo creates, scales, and optimizes resilient solutions to challenges concerning electricity availability, food security, and ecosystem restoration. He started his career with Nayo Tropical Technologies, Abuja, before moving on to start his own company, Manamus Electric. Uzo's work in the renewable energy sector earned him the prestigious US Department of State Mandela Washington Fellowship in 2018. Just recently, Uzo founded a second company, Cold Box Store in Enugu, a solar-powered cold chain for connecting smallholder farmers of perishable agricultural produce to high-value markets. Cold Box provides temperature-controlled storage to farm produce, thereby eliminating post-harvest losses and increasing food supply. This obviously increases commercialization of agricultural products and creates wealth for local farmers. You're welcome on this panel, Uzo.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
And finally, to moderate this team, is my own very sister, Ifunanya. Ifunanya is a psychologist by day, but she's a tech enthusiast day and night. She is the co-founder and programs M&E officer of Clintonel Innovation Centre, ABBA. Clintonel is a multiple award-winning company focused on engineering, design, and fabrication, business and technology incubation. Ifunanya herself has won several awards as a result of her work at CIC, including the prestigious Frontiers Program grant from the Royal Academy of Engineering, UK. So I will hand over to you, Ifunanya, to take it from here.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here. Hello, everyone. Thank you, everyone that's logged in, both from UNN and outside UNN. Thank you for the students that to the students that have shown interest. I hope you've not had issues with logging in or being at the meeting point. And thank you, our speakers. It's great to have you, and your profiles are indeed very, we'll get there. You've done a lot of work in engineering. Okay, so today part of what we want to achieve is to ensure that fresh and early career engineers have relevant skills, desirable skills in the engineering workspace, and we will discuss everything about that today. So I'll start with you, David. Your own engineering business, and what were the first steps you took? Thank you, David. You can unmute yourself.
All right. Okay, I'm sorry, your mic, I couldn't hear you. Could you come again on the question?
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Okay, yes, okay, yeah, great.
Okay, so I said, when did you conceive the idea of starting your own engineering business? And what were the first steps you took?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Well, when I was in the UNN school, right? I think from my second year, right? Even before the university, I just knew that I wanted to be very influential. You know, from before university, I was reading some motivational books from my sister. You know, so those just set me on a pace. And when I came into UNN, you know, from my second year, I met some people like me too who wanted to be great entrepreneurs. You know, and I just wanted to do great things. And I said, you know what? I'm a bit bored, you know, and I said, you know what, let me just go for SUG, you know. I just went into school politics, and then I just, you know, at some point I was always fascinated at how do these electronics work? What makes the TV work? You know, those curiosity has always been there. So it's kind of kept me on a pedal on what I needed to do. Then when it was time for my IT, I used my time for my IT to do a whole lot of studies around microprocessors, because our final project was using GSM network to control home appliances, you know, using relays and all, where you just tap a button on the phone and you can put your devices off and on. So, you know, at my fourth year, I was studying about microcontrollers, about how this thing work. I spent every day, I was just reading about this thing for months, you know, and I was so fluent in this whole thing that we were like 5 people in my group. I was able to type our chapter 3 and chapter 4 offhand without referring to any book, because that was how, you know, fluent I became on that thing. Then the first. So I just had that dream. But when I just came out of school, even before service, the first interview I was called by Intel Corporation, you know, to become a field sales engineer. Then, even before I even went to NYS, I dropped my CV somewhere and they just called me up. And because I couldn't do my travel document to go have my final interview, you know, I missed the job. You know, from there, and also how I was actually treated by those foreign guys. You know, it's in Nigeria, you don't know how valuable you are. When you meet somebody who's the manager that controls Middle East, Turkey, and Africa, I say, hi, okay, when can I call you for a meeting? You have to choose the time. So I can choose the time for my meeting. You know, unlike in school where, you know, there's a way, you know, you feel as if, man, I'm everything that they do for me in school is a favor. You know, when you see a white guy, it's like, he's taking as if you're doing him a favor for even employing you, me, a fresh graduate. I say, wow, is that how life could be? From there, it raised up my morale, and it kind of redefined the kind of things that I wanted to achieve. and the way I wanted to see life. Even though I couldn't complete my visa process to travel for my final interview, I got a job with Etisalat. I compared the two standards of working environment. And I said, you know what, this company, I'm not going to be here for long, you know. And at some point, I became bored again. I just felt that I could actually do more as an engineer. You know, I was very crazy about technology. So I could be at work. I'm just researching about disruptive technology, about IoT, how they're going to change the world, about how web RTC is going to change the world and all. And before I knew it, I presented my company in a conference in US, where I was speaking about web RTC. I was arguably one of the few first Africans talking about web RTC technology. Actually, web RTC technology is the technology we are using to talk on Zoom, you know, that enhances video calls and all that. So I was so bored. I just dropped my resignation. I just left it straight. People called me a crazy guy, but I just didn't care. You know, from then on, I said I ran arguably one of the first disruptive technology conferences in Africa, where we had some very good people, like the vice president of IoT for Ubuntu, vice president of IoT for Intel Corporation. You know, we've got people like former minister of communication, you know, involved with all CTOs, CEOs of MTN and several people, you know. Then I felt I was doing something meaningful because I was meeting with people that mattered. I was building network with people that mattered and all that. You know, at some point, you know, I was very passionate about these technologies, but the only mistake I made then was that I was not building to a kind of product to make money out of it. So over time, we changed our strategy, you know, and that was how the journey went. And now we are where we are consulting for even global firms, providing AI solutions for them. So that was a summary. I know the story is long. I just had to cut it short.
Yes, you're right. Your profile is quite long and quite impressive. And in just these few things you said, I picked out a lot, you know, about impact, about friends, about school, you know, starting your work early while you're in school, about being versatile. And I will come back to you.
I can't hear anything.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So the question is for you, Zoshiku. I said you run an innovative renewable energy company, and you know, one begins to wonder if it's just the knowledge you had from school as an undergraduate that you used for this, or did you have specialized training, certificates, and the rest? So would you want to talk to us more about this?
Well, thank you very much for that question. Innovative renewable energy company, yes. When we started, it was more about doing what we can with the information we had or with what we knew. Of course, it all started in UNN. I think my first
I think it was a
oh my goodness, I was muted. Okay, sorry. Can you hear me now? Can everyone hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So it did start the knowledge I have for the innovation we do in the renewable energy space, while it may have started in UNN, but of course, knowledge from other places also helped us in what we're currently doing. We started in UNN, and I think my first exposure to the energy space was at the Energy Center. Then I used to work closely with Reverend Arnold. Then he used to teach us in electronic engineering. So we were always learning a lot about the research that we are doing in the Energy Center. I think my final year project was also in the energy space. I think we designed a solar tracker that tracks the movement of the sun in order to optimize consumption. Then I also did my IT in an energy company. I was fortunate to do my IT in an energy company that it was more like a startup, but the startup was doing really big projects. So at my fourth year, I was exposed to some huge renewable energy projects. Both the commercial solar projects for businesses and communities, residential solar projects for homes, solar street lights, solar boreholes, just the regular solar stuff. So And I think during the period of my IT, there was strike, there was lots of strike and ASU strike and stuff like that. So essentially, I got over 1 year experience as a solar engineer during my undergraduate days. So it really helped. It really gave me lots of confidence. And I think the most important thing that experience gave for me was how much opportunities were in the solar energy space. Because I remember, in my fourth year or thereabout, I was about 19 years old or something, and my boss was doing projects of almost £1 billion, and I was like, is that how much money is in this space? I really need to pursue opportunities here as soon as I can. So even on graduation, when we finally finished school full time in 2014, we kept doing lots of freelancing. Of course, because of my experience as an undergraduate, I had built quite a reputation as a freelancer. So definitely most of the big solar companies, when they have projects, they want to bring me and my friends on board to come and help them execute. So we basically did lots between 2014 and 2016. We were basically more like, we didn't have company, but we didn't have a company or a business, but we were always trying to find how we could help solar companies execute their projects, especially those who like staffing was a problem for. So we were staffed for everybody. In 2016, we decided to start our own business. Yeah, of course, as a young startup, especially because of how expensive the solar energy space is. The solar energy space. This is not exactly easy to get people to trust you. So most of your knowledge and experience still revolves around partnerships and how much people you can work for. Then I was also fortunate enough to be selected as a Mandela Washington Fellow, where I got to spend 6 weeks at the University of Nevada, Reno. I also got to spend lots of time at Tesla and build relationships with engineers there. So all that exposure and training also helped me in getting lots of exposure. Like when my profile was being read, they mentioned that we just launched another like company from Manamus Electric, which we call the Cold Box Store. It's basically solar powered and commercial refrigeration solutions to help prevent post-harvest losses. The inspiration for this project also came, for instance, when I was in the US, when I went to Walmart, and I found out that the reason why Walmart is so efficient in food distribution is that they have these commercial cooling solutions. So it's basically from the more you work, the more experience you get, then the more ideas you get on what you think is possible. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you. Ifunanya?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Sorry.
Yes, we can.
Okay,
Yes, we can.
we have a lot of technical issues here, but we'll sort that out. Thank you so much. I picked out a lot from yours too. Yes, I heard about the cold chain stuff now, and it's really essential for the perishable goods problems we have here in Nigeria. So that's quite impressive. And from the two panelists, I've picked out one thing. Two of you were both Mandela Washington Fellows. So students, if you're here, I think the application has closed for this year. Next year, think about it. But before you go for it, make sure there's something you've started working on that will give you that leverage to get it, okay? It's obviously give them a lot of exposure to build their companies, okay? And we move on to you, Sophia. Sophia, can you hear me? If you can unmute yourself and say yes.
I can hear you.
Thank you very much. That's great. So you're also in the renewable energy sector, and like David said, there is a lot of opportunity there. So not many females run the engineering business. So do you mind sharing with us your business journey, what it's been like, and any other thing you want to tell us about that? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. I can see everyone that has spoken, all the panelists started their journey from UNN. That's what I've learned from this, for like the few panelists that have spoken. As well as me, I also started from UNN, where I did CCNA at AfriHub. Actually, I've had the interest of IT over time. I've always wanted to, do something different. but like I didn't have a vision. I didn't know what it was, but I knew I had a flair for IT. Regardless, I finished from engineering, and I did the CCNA Africa. Afterwards, I've done this personal learning by myself. Like I always do self-learning a lot. I've enrolled for courses as well for HTML, CSS. I did a lot of WordPress, so much self-learning. And then the opportunity came for me to practice what I've been doing, not necessarily solar, but IT. After my master's, I had the opportunity to work in a company. So in Japan, you can choose a company. You have to show like some certain kind of skill. You must do that kind of thing before you go into the market. So I chose an IT company. And during this time, I actually, my knowledge was quite vague. But when I go into the company, seeing the entire structure, how things were run, and also given a task that I've never done in my life before, I was given a task to develop a website for a client. And this is something I've never done before. But they give you the opportunity to learn, they give you the time to learn, and they give you all the resources you need. So I started my self-learning again, enrolled for courses online. This is while I was still trying to figure out how to build a website for the client. And then, voila, it happened. I was able to deliver. And then doing that took me over like 3 months to do a website. That was pretty long. And then after that, I went ahead, I'm like, okay, I can do this, so I can do mine. So I decided to build my own website. And then I built my own Smart Tech Savvy. And then I built it within 2 weeks. And then I'm like, okay, this is becoming pretty easy, you know, practice makes perfect. And that's how I started doing freelancing. I started doing business. I started building websites for a lot of people, like people I knew. I started telling them, hey, I can do this for you. A lot of startups, a lot of people do businesses in Japan. So I was like, hey, I could do a website for you. You could put up your car. And a lot of people started, engaging me. And then afterwards, I just felt that I didn't know, like, now everybody knew me as Sophia that designed the website, not necessarily as Smart Tech that designed the website. And I felt it was very important to brand myself. Also, like, I didn't know what was going in, I didn't know what was going out. I received money when I get paid. I didn't have a structure, I didn't have a vision. So just, me and my idea within me. So that kind of spoiled the interest of, okay, I need to really go back to the drawing board and map out exactly what I want for this company, how to run the company. And that's where I started doing things the right way. I started doing the registration. I started getting out people that, had other expertise, like, app development, crowdfunding development, people that could, do different things. And then I got about 4 people and we became a team. So I could do websites, someone else could do the Bitcoin, they could create the crowdfunding, the crypto thing. And then another person could do the app development. So this is how we became like a team. And then we started the company. And then that's how we started. We mapped out, okay, this is the vision. This is where we want to go. This is our competitors. And this is what we can give extra. So we know a lot of people do many things. So what can we give differently from other people? So we mapped out all these things, and that's how we started Smart Tech Savvy. It actually started 2019, before the pandemic, and then 2021, that's this year, we actually, we've grown to about 8 employees, both contract and full-time. We completely work remotely, and sometimes I've not met some of my employees because I don't hire you based on I can see you physically. I just what you can deliver to me. Yeah, so that's basically how I started my business for Smart Tech Savvy. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me now? Thank you, Sophia. That was quite impressive. How the journey started
and how you've moved on to structure. So for everyone listening, even if you feel you don't have a structure now, you don't exactly know what to do, you just have heard from someone that found her way while she started. So Sophia, but out of curiosity, could the harsh business atmosphere in Nigeria be the reason why you moved to Japan?
Well, I find that question very funny because like I totally understand how Nigeria is, but I don't, that was not the reason why I left Nigeria. Nigeria, I feel, is a very fertile, and other developing countries, very fertile ground for business. But I actually moved to Japan because I wanted to further my education as well as become very valuable, more valuable in the market. That was the reason why I moved to Japan.
Okay. So it was more because of the education, but then you moved on there. That's great. So Ndukwe, can you hear me? If you can hear me, unmute yourself and say hi.
Hello.
So, oh yeah, you can hear me. Thank you. Okay, so talk to us about the manufacturing industry, our people's attitude to made in Nigeria products. You know, how is it affecting your business, or what are you doing to change this perception?
Yeah, thank you very much. Nigeria has for long been known as one of the biggest markets in Africa. And what that entails is that a lot of people are producing things and they want to send it down here for us to consume, right? So someone is doing manufacturing for us and we are just a market. Now, at some point I thought, okay, if there's a big market around your house, so what you can do is to just produce something and sell. But then that's not the full story. If you look, there's a stereotype associated with made in Nigerian products based on history. So when you bring out a new product, the same stereotype meets here. The stereotype is that local good is a synonym for inferior good. Now that's challenging. And the challenge is, why is it so? The story is like that because over time, the local goods that we produce have not competed sufficiently with imported goods. And in the real sense, people don't really care whether your product is made in Nigeria or imported. They just want a product that serves them well. So if you consistently feed them nonsense, they will just assume that, okay, every time you always bring nonsense. So one of the experiences I had when I was developing a product at some point in 2015, we were trying to launch a product. Someone asked me, what does this product do? I had to explain to him, okay, it does this, it does this. The next question I had was, where did you copy it from, right? So this guy thinks for this product to be this good, it has to be imported. So that's part of the story we need to rewrite by ourselves by producing products that are up to standard, so that when you get a product in the market, someone doesn't initially categorize your product as inferior simply because it is local. And you do that gradually over time by consistently bringing products that are high quality. So if you bring a high quality product to the market consistently, you're helping to write the story that makes local goods not to be very much patronized. So apart from having a stereotype for our products, there's also a challenge of running with the kind of infrastructure we have around here. I mean, if you're going to run a production facility that requires energy, you better not depend on NEPA. You better not depend on the grid. You need your own source of energy, and you have to cater for a lot of things. So for organizations that want to become very strong in the future, one of the things you do is you try to operate low scale rather than operating high scale. But then operating low scale comes with its own challenge, right? When you're operating a low scale organization, most times your system is not very efficient. Let me give you an instance. If you're going to enter into manufacturing, for instance, at low scale, you usually have cheap equipment, right, that are having a very low turnover. Now, normally manufacturing is mass production as we know it. So if you're trying to produce in mass for an area that is considered as a market in the whole world, then you better up your game so that you can produce a large quantity, right? So because you need to scale up, you now need to do a whole lot of investment in your business upfront. And as you're making those improvements, you also need equipment that are efficient. So you also need modern equipment. So there are a lot of challenges you face in manufacturing these days. But one of the things we do in St. Vuge is we understand that these things are challenges that we're going to face. So at the early stage of our product development, right? Remember, the reason why your product is inferior is because you are bringing to the market what nobody really wants at that quality. So at the very early stage of the product development, you need to find out from your prospective customers, what is it exactly you are looking for in my product? I'll give you an instance. For some years now, we've been trying to launch a product. It's a clip for holding sheets, right? But we launched the first one sometime around 2016, and we hit the market. We are making market entry, and we are getting some very important feedbacks about the efficiency of our products. Now, we had a lot of advices from a lot of business folks asking us to pump in more energy into marketing. I told one of my mentors, bros, this thing is not going to work. I'd rather invest my energy in making sure that my product is market fit, right? Rather than trying to convince someone that something is good when in real sense it's not good enough. Because if it were good enough, they would accept it the same way they accept foreign goods, right? So there's no argument about it. People just want things that are fine. So when you are developing a product for people, it's very important for you to be able to position yourself very well from the onset to make sure that what you're bringing to the market is what people are looking out for. Or else a lot of your investments in trying to set up a manufacturing facility could be a waste of time. So one of the things we do in our products, when we launch, we try to make sure we have a very good connection with the market and make sure we're delivering consistently on what they want.
Wow. That's great. So the fact is, if you really have good products, then you don't need to worry about penetrating the market or the stereotype that comes with this was made in Nigeria. Sorry about the person that asked you where did you copy it from. Students, if you're joining us and you have questions, please type that in the chat box. We'll take it and we'll ask whoever we feel is very fit for that. Or if you feel the question is, well, just say that and we'll ask the person. Thank you very much. So the way you chose Aba as your business environment, is there a reason for that?
Yeah.
Okay,
sure.
Okay, that's great. Why the choice of that location?
Yeah, the point is that when you view Aba on Google Map, right? And you add what do you call it again? The one that shows image. They call it satellite view, right? So on satellite view, you are going to be able to see a distribution of where people actually live in the town. You're going to see different commercial centers. You're going to see the industrial clusters, right, on the map. Now, when you begin to compare Aba with places like Lagos, you now understand that Aba is very compact as a city, right? So what's the advantage of running a startup in a city that is compact? Your logistics is very easy, right? I can tell you, I can go to the market like 3 times in a day, make procurements and come back if I need to. Why? Because I understand the routes to go there and come back. If you try that in Lagos, you are done. You just need one round from morning to night. So those are some of the things.
And Lagos traffic will hold you.
Yes. So
yes,
those are some of the things
we
consider very important. Then secondly, you have an abundance of people who are kind of technically minded, right, around us here. We have a lot of people who can do fabrication for you if you guide them, right? Because what you see on the street is not exactly what you see inside oil and gas fabrication yard. So once you are coming to get someone to work for you, you have someone close by, right? So you don't need to travel so very far to find a good person that can work with you. So what you do is you focus on making sure your engineering is done properly. And when you need to collaborate with other people where your facilities are not enough, I mean, it's very easy to find someone. So Aba is positioned strategically to support any engineering firm that wishes to run in that environment.
Wow, that's so great to hear. So yes, I can attest to that really, staying in Aba to almost everything you need. There's somewhere you can find it and it's not so, all you need is to guide them and then you get what you want. That's impressive. That's impressive. So, David, I come back to you. So you're in the IT sector, and there are new startups, new companies, springing up daily, offering similar services. So how do you ensure that you stay on top of the game, and maintain your clients?
Okay, thanks very much for that. Well, that question alone requires requires a lecture, but then it's not all about technology, really. I tell some people I train, I tell them, look here, it's not enough to be technical, to know how to do technical things. The guys who are making it out there, I call them the talking engineers. The guys who can talk, who can package, who can wow the clients, who can manage the client's perception, because a client can only pay you what he perceives you are worth. So the first thing you are doing is perception management. If you are not a showman, it will be tough for you to make some very good amount of money. Because most times, why would big company see a service that a guy on the street can do for, say, 5 naira? They rather go and pay a company that might not do something as good as that. They pay 1,000 naira. So packaging is very important. Being able to have good presentation skills. Then customer service, very important. I have a mentor who told me that the aim is not to be the best. Your aim is to be different. Then also you need to even know who your customers are. With the experience I've gotten in business, I know customers that are time wasters. I don't waste my time with them, except I just want to do it for maybe charity's sake. I spot those kind of customers from a far distance. You will know them. You know them from their language, the way they are speaking. So most times when people talk to me, maybe they're from companies, I try to gauge them within the few minutes I'm speaking with them to know if they're decision makers. Most times when I'm trying to do some deals, I don't waste my time talking to people who are not decision makers. It's not pride, it's because I'm a businessman. I want solutions. So somehow I'm trying to understand if you can make a decision. If you have the power to influence writing my check, it's very important that I know who you are, because there are some people who are noisemakers. So you should be able to sieve them out. Then secondly, with all the startups all around, what I can say is that the opportunities are big for everybody, but it depends for you to know, number one, your niche market. Number two, are you solving a very big problem? Then also, as you guys describe it as engineering firm. There's another thing I'm also doing. While I'm providing services, I also run startups. Like I have a fintech startup. In fact, we've gotten recognition from the Central Bank of Kenya. We get some support from them. I also have some IoT startups which I haven't put to the front. Like I am a connected car solutions. Our AI solutions, we are presently testing with a global logistic firm. And a whole lot of things. For example, how did I get this global logistic firm to actually work with us? If presently we are the only Nigerian company that firm is using for their services. And what made us stand out? We decided to provide an AI solution for which is not common. And that is what disruptive technology is. You have to look for new markets. So by the time we're out here, we also competed with a company in South Africa. And in fact, they say, we have to go with this guy's solution. For the first time, a Nigerian company, is being used because they believe globally, all across the world in that company, that Nigerian people are not just really good technologically. They are full of disappointment. Nigeria copy and paste and all that. So imagine I was doing something that every other company could provide. In fact, that same step, our AI solution, Google provides it, but it's not bespoke as what we are providing. Google AWS provided, but not to the level of quality we are giving, the way we are customizing it and giving it out to them. In fact, the prices that Google and others give
wow, that's really impressive.
It's very expensive. So even the companies said they've tried Google, they can't afford it, and they're talking to us, So when how did I even start speaking in Lagos Business School? When I started speaking in Lagos Business School, I didn't have a master's. But because they were going to go into a new field on big data analysis, they didn't know who to call. And because I've already built a brand with my conference, they had to contact me, and I was speaking to people who were top people in companies, telling them how they can manage their data and the rest of them. So for me, my key to standing out is being disruptive. You know,
Okay.
like Jack Ma will tell you that when you go for an opportunity, you know, and you already see that maybe people are doing it, then you are already late. Somebody who is going to be a world changer is somebody that spotted an opportunity which everybody have not noticed. You know, because like Trump will say, a businessman is somebody that sees an opportunity, that goes ahead to the future, builds the opportunity, and waits for the world to join him ahead where he is. So most times, for you to actually stand out, you need to have a different kind of mind. And being an innovator is not something you can be, for me to use the word, being a physical man. Innovation are bettered in the third world, in the abstract world. Just like people in engineering who are doing courses in mechanical drawing, where they will tell you, I think in the second year, it's not MB261. Yeah, I really love that course because it helps your imagination. They help you to look at a building and you're able to imagine the dimension of that building and all that. You know, there are so many things you can't build in this world, but then you can imagine them in your mind. So your mind is like a strong tool where you can build anything. You can make a plane to launch and take off from inside your bedroom in your mind.
Okay, so David, thank you very much. This is sorry, we don't have all the time. We would have really loved to hear you talk about these things. But one thing we've picked is one, be an engineer, be innovative, be disruptive, not just do what others do. But then you also emphasize on soft skills, and that's very essential. So if you are here with us tomorrow, we'll be having a soft skills session. You just learned that all you need is not just your engineering skills. You need to be able to present yourself well to the market you're looking at. So that's very essential. And please be sure you're here tomorrow morning for that, okay? I will make it hands-on. Also, David, what of your employees? I mean, people jump from one job to another now. How do you keep them, especially in the wake of, better paying remote jobs?
Okay, let me start by giving an experience. Sometimes it's not even about having the money to pay them. It's about having the right skills and you even knowing what you want as an engineer or like an innovator. Let me give an experience. I had some project with some companies and I called some guys to work with me, some programmers to work with me. On like several occasions, they just disappeared. For months, they just went, I couldn't locate them as if they were no more existing in this world, And, it forced me to, because I know that there was very good money involved in this, and I can't let this guy make me lose his money. I had to do crash program and learning on program, how to program. I learned how to use Node.js programming language. At this point, I won't say I write programs, but I don't write from start to finish. I'm able to re-engineer programs. That's what an innovator is. An innovator is somebody that looks at the solution, looks at the components, and rearrange them to suit his environment or suit the peculiarity of the product or the people he's trying to serve. So right now, I work with Ruby and Rails languaging. Presently now, my best language is Python because we are building a whole lot of AI solutions for companies, and Python is one of the best languages you can actually learn for now. So at those points, those guys that probably pushed me to learn the programming by myself, self-taught, and it's really paying off. So actually, now there are different kinds of employees. You should be able to identify the employees who are trying to learn. Because what most tech companies do nowadays is that they get interns and train them so that, before they become very money conscious, you've gotten what you could, at least if something, a best value from them before they actually leave. Then also, there's also a model where you also engage some of these programmers based on projects, so you can pay them a lump sum, There's also a part where you've been able to understand what you want to do technologically, so that by the time you call these guys, you're able to help them save their time, help them feel as if they're not tied down. Then also there are some people who you should know that to be your co-founders, because they have exceptional skills. You offer those people shares straight up. And this is not what you discover like instantly. These people should be able to test them on different places, their temperament and a whole lot of things. So how you do is that you could hire some people based on contracts. You could hire some people based on full-time, based on the skill. Then also you try to get to hear their minds. What are they looking at in terms of salary and pay? You You need to now understand what makes them tick, what inspires them, what's important. Now, do you guys align? Then, if you look at what they are trying to say they want, you now see, is this person really worth it? Can I give this person this? You know, everything is just about communication, being able to listen to your employees' subconscious mind. You know, you have to know a bit of psychology, right? I do a bit of psychology. Yes, very important.
Yes.
Without understanding psychology,
Okay.
you know, there's some levels you cannot achieve. You need to understand what people are not saying, you know. And
yes, that's very essential.
In software designing, that is called the business analyst, or people that be able to write user stories. You ask the users and you're able to understand what they might not say it in the right word. You now translate it into something that you can work with as an engineer. Thank you.
Oh, that's great. You're really versatile. I mean, you know a little of everything, and then you're even a master of what you already do. That's very great. And it's essential, you know, like, yes, you emphasize the fact that you need to know what's happening that they're not telling you. Thank you for that. Usachukwu, over to you. So it's a common knowledge that Nigeria is hard. Running a business in Nigeria is even harder. You know, you have bills to pay, you have levies. Levies are not one. You can have multiple taxation and multiple levies from different ends, maybe for one thing. So how have you considered this? Okay. Are you thinking of moving to another country, or how have you been able to keep up with these things? You know, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, I have. Thank you very much for that question. Have I considered leaving Nigeria? The answer is no. But have I considered expanding beyond Nigeria? The answer is yes.
Wow,
I'm actually even still working towards expanding beyond Nigeria. The reason why I said no is I read somewhere that when you don't make decisions based on emotion, you make decisions based on data. In God we trust, everybody else must bring data. I think somebody said that sometime. So if you study the data of the Nigerian market, you see that the market is huge. So regardless of how difficult it is to do business in Nigeria, you just have to adapt. You just have to find a way to adapt, overcome, then find a way to scale beyond Nigeria. Personal experience, I was fortunate to during my time in the US, I was fortunate to visit lots of American companies and build relationships with a lot of them. And I kept telling myself that I felt like things were easier for the entrepreneurs here. Of course, I wouldn't tell them that to their face, but I felt like, considering how hard we are working back in Nigeria, if I come here to the US and work this hard, I'm definitely sure that the financial returns would be a lot higher than what we're currently experiencing here. So I've always had that thought in mind, and it's made me to always have that. I think since 2018, I've always had it at the back of my mind that we will definitely expand beyond Nigeria as soon as we can. But you know, the thing is, why it's great to have big dreams, you have to start from where you are, do what you can, and when you have the ability to do more, then you do more. So for us, it's just basically been do what you can, get the ability, you do more. Like for instance, in 2016, when we started, we didn't have an office. We ran the business for 2 years without an office. If your client tells you he wants to see you, you are telling the client to meet you in Crunchies or to meet you in Mr. Biggs to discuss business. So, but with time, when you're able to grow to a point where, okay, you can now expand to have an office, we got an office in a market. For those who know, you may know Kenyatta Market. But basically, what we shop. I think we ran that about a year. Got the ability to do more. We expanded to getting like a proper office where we are now able to bring in lots of the guys we work with. And in that spirit of expansion, lots of conversations, we are now saying, okay, we kind of like feel like we have outgrown Enugu in terms of the market in Enugu, considering that about 70% of our paying customers or 80% of our paying customers are outside Enugu, even though we are still based in Enugu. So we are now saying, okay, how do we now expand to the Lagos market, to the Abuja market? And definitely, probably with time, you now start talking about expanding to markets outside Nigeria. And that's basically how you just find a way to optimize your operations, try to keep your expenses on a low. The business part is something which the whole financial jargon, that's what I call it, is something which we're not really familiar with, but we have to take our time to learn and bring in financial analysts and consultants who come and try to analyze the financial health of your business. And all those things are those things to make sure that your expenses, that your revenue exceeds your costs. And okay, for instance, we're currently having talks with this Mexican company. At the peak of the COVID-19 vaccine, there's this Mexican company who knew we build cooling solutions, and they reached out to us if we could design a solution that they could use to transport like COVID-19 vaccines on airplanes. So we were able to do the design. I actually did the design with, actually, there was an intern from the faculty, I think he's even in this, somewhere in this call or in the career fair hall, who did internship with us, and we worked together and we designed the product that they could use to ship the vaccines on airplanes, and they could maintain the vaccines at -70 degrees for up to 6 days. So there are lots of conversations on how we can now come and set up in Mexico. So, but of course, these things are hard, these things are expensive, these are things you do not rush. So it's just about, you do what you can, and when you have the ability to do more, you do more. Start from where you are. That's just the point. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. So you really spoke of a lot of things, and these things were in common with what Sophia said about practice. You keep practicing and then you get better. And then you also spoke about structure. So don't feel that you've not started, just start from somewhere, but have that in mind that you need to put a structure to it. And I mean, your resilience is so impressive. I mean, from here you started to stop, but you've been able to move out beyond Nigeria. So if you're joining us, remember, put your questions on the chat box, we'll take that, and make notes, know the things you need. You need the skills, but you also need to be resilient. You need to have soft skills. And somehow just be hopeful, something good. Don't feel limited with your environment, okay? Or with the background you think you have. You can make it if you choose to. So thank you, Zoshiku. If you're still there, funding is a serious issue. And business requires a lot of funding. So how have you been able, what funding model do you use for your business?
Funding. One of the lessons I've come to learn about funding is fundraising is a skill, and there's nothing engineering about the skills you need for fundraising. So you need to educate yourself on how to get funding, and it's a very, very important aspect, because funding is what drives your project. Without any funding, you can have all the skills in the world and your designs will remain in your laptop. The code box which we built, which kind of like gained us a lot of popularity, especially in the energy space, like building 100% solar powered cold storage solution that you do not need utility power or generators, completely powered by solar. We worked with a team of engineers. We came up with all sorts of amazing, robust designs, and all we had were like designs on our laptops. So we needed money to implement it, to actually prove that our designs worked. And it was difficult to get, but later it was with time I realized that it was like a skill which we had to learn how to build. And the thing about funding is there are different types of investors. So there are different types of opportunities for raising funds. So you have to understand how each of those opportunities work and be able to chase after them. And we have the impact investors and the venture capitalists. Those guys usually require some level of investment readiness, especially those, even if you are at the seed stage itself, they will still need some sort of investment readiness. And investment readiness is something which a lot of us with the technical background do not take very seriously. And I feel like that is why a lot of these foreign founders and foreign companies eat our lunch, because you see foreign organizations who you are better than, and you can build stuff that works better than, because you've been able to understand the fundamentals of engineering, but they are raising all the money and you're not. So for me, it's something which my team, we are still learning. We are still learning. Apart from the regular strategy of you do projects for clients and clients pay you, we got our first funding from a corporate organization. It was basically was a grant. It was basically in the form of a grant when we won an innovation challenge organized by Oxfam Novib. Oxfam Novib is an international organization in the Netherlands. I think we got a grant funding from them. Then we also got grant funding from United Nations Sustainable Energy for All. So those were some of the grants that helped us, some of the funding that helped us show that our designs were not just paper designs, that you could actually design something on your computer and bring it to life. And the success of the project now we now started bringing in the finance experts who basically for the past 1 year, we've been doing lots of, it's basically learning for, like I said, fundraising is a skill on investment readiness. And we are probably going to be raising our first major funding from venture capitalists before December this year. So it's basically something you have to learn yourself and learn, then try to take advantage of your knowledge. Thank you.
Okay, so I think there are take homes. There is a skill you have to learn, but even if you're not able to get the big funds, you can start with grants. And really, there is so much grants around the renewable energy space. So it's part of what we'll take tomorrow too. Okay, so if you're here and you want to learn this, we may not be able to give you the whole in a few hours, but we can give you some prompts and some products that will help you start up. So be here with us tomorrow. Thank you very much, Uzochukwu. In the way, you work with lots of machines, and huge machine needs large equipment. They need a lot of funds to be able to get them. So how were you able to raise your startup funds?
Okay, thank you very much. I won't be talking specifically about funds. I'll be talking about resources. A lot of people think that what you need to run a business is mostly money, but that is not the full story. What happens in business is that you have resources scattered everywhere, right? And you have experiences that people want to have. What you do in business is that you coordinate these resources to serve people in such a way that is profitable. Now, money is just one of the resources you need. And your ability to use resources available to you to work efficiently, that is management skill, is also a resource. So when you're talking about funding, there are a lot of resources you get that are quantifiable, which if you don't have, you need to pay to get, right? So when you want to run a business, you need to consider the whole spectrum of resources that you need, find out the one you can acquire with fund and the one you can't acquire with fund. So my funding comes from 8% of my funding are from grants. I am a cohort of Tony and Melu Foundation 2016. 32% of my funding comes from my savings. I do a lot of work in oil and gas. I'm a CAD design engineer in oil and gas. So we go there, we work for them, and we take back their money and put into our business. And where does the remaining 60% come from? It comes from me, right? You may be wondering, one is my savings, the other one is me. What is me? Okay, let me explain. When you are designing a facility and the cost of your design is 1.3 million and you design it by yourself, that means you've added 1.3 million in that business, but not as cash. It's a skill. When you are working on your project and you're investing lots of hours supervising it, the question is, if you move away from that project and pay someone to do exactly what you do in that business, how much will you pay the person? That's what makes up the 60%. So when you are making a design and you get caught up somewhere and you go back to your design drawing board to do a lot of changes to make sure you achieve that product, does it mean you have a cheaper product, or does it mean you have the same quality of product, but you've supplied the skill to fill in the price and get it there? Let me give you an instance. We are trying to fabricate stuff for our production line lately, and we had to request for a particular specialized belt in Europe, and we got a quote for the belts. It's totaling some thousands of dollars. So each belt is around 200,000 naira. That's a belt. And I looked at the belt. I was wondering what they were going to do to give me a belt of 200,000. So the belt is 200,000, whether you like it or not. So how do I produce a belt of 200,000 with funding of maybe 20,000 naira? It's very simple. Go to the market, buy another kind of belt that you will need to fabricate, right? Go and buy the material you need to fabricate that belt. Put in some design on how to make that belt. Design your equipment, right? Then when you finish doing this thing, construct the equipment and make the belts. So when you do all these things, you might have spent 70,000 naira in cash making the equipment, buying the belts, buying this and running all the process. Now the cost of the belt is still 200,000. So, but your financial investment in that belt is 70,000, and your investment of yourself in getting that product done is 130,000. So a lot of the funding you need, you can actually adjust part of it by trying to do some of the things by yourself and being lean. Like what I mean by being lean is, we when we wanted to start up our workshop in 2019, we knew there were different sizes of lathes, there were different sizes of milling machine. So what we did, we knew that for us to get smaller milling machine, we need to be milling things that are smaller, or if you are going to mill things that are big, we are going to mill them in modules, right? What I mean by milling it in modules, instead of milling the whole thing in one stretch, you mill it, then have a clamp reference and do another work. So what that means is that because I understand the process of using a small tool to achieve something that is big, I can go ahead and buy a small equipment at a lower cost, right? Then I need a generator to power it. I'll still use a smaller generator. It consumes less fuel. But what am I achieving? I'm achieving the same result you will achieve if you use a very big equipment. So having that skill to understand what you need to achieve what you want upfront is very important in gathering your resources. So you may not need to get all the money in the world to do what you want to do, but you need to understand how can you use the resources around you to achieve what you want.
Thank you very much. That's very essential. So in essence, you just quantified the skill you had and added value to it. So that's very great. Uzo also talked about funds from grants, and you mentioned that too. And it's great to know that anyhow, your passion also made you put in your personal funds. So however you want to get it, just have that vision and target how you can get these things. Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry, we have a question here. Someone is asking, what's your parents' attitude? Okay, this question is not exactly for one person, but generally, I think because most of you talked about passion and how you went about doing things today. So the person is asking, what were your parents' attitude towards your dreams? You know, you're all dreaming big. And she said, or he said, I don't know who, he said, you know how Nigerian parents can be. So how did your parents handle the fact that you had big dreams and you were dreaming of big companies, maybe not seeing exactly how that was happening, but handling
I can comment on that.
things? Yes, thank you.
I can comment on that. The thing is that it's really exhausting, right? Because whether you see it or not, there's a kind of competition between parents on the achievement of their people. And one thing about running project is that when you start running a project that takes years to achieve, right? Normally everybody would think you are crazy until they start seeing kind of results in what you are trying to do. I had similar experiences. I had, when I was trying to leave ExxonMobil to go and start up what I was doing currently, one of the things I had was, this is your best time to earn a lot of money. And I was like, okay, it's true. So this is my best time to take a lot of risk as well. So you are going to have a lot of arguments on the subject. But the thing is that you need to be aware of what your business could be in years, right? And you try as much as possible to demonstrate your progress about what you are doing. Nobody likes seeing anybody that is not making any progress. So as long as people are seeing you make progress and they don't understand the direction you are going, at some point in time, it stops being, what do you think you are doing, to, okay, how do I come in this thing you are doing? And for you to convince them, remember, entrepreneurship and trying to start up a new business is not the popular thing around there. A lot of our parents grew up with the philosophy of go acquire your certificate and a job will be waiting for you. Now the narrative has changed as well. No job is waiting for anybody again, right? So these are things you need to be consistent in proving that what you are doing is worthwhile. And something else, while you are doing this project and running these startups, and you for any reason discover that what you are doing doesn't make sense anymore, please don't be stubborn, just stop. Because that's the point. As long as it doesn't make sense. I've been in project developing a product. Somewhere midway, I couldn't figure out how to market the product, right? So the point was, what's the point wasting time? I stopped it. I've been in the process of developing a product. Midway in the product development, we realized that the cost of setting up the whole facility to execute the project was beyond our project. I brought a packet, kept it one side. So you have to be realistic in your setting goals and pursuing goals. And while you are doing that, make sure you are communicating yourself fully to people. And once they understand that you really mean what you say you are doing and you are progressing in it, you get all the support you have. And there's something else to understand. Sometimes people are not actually stopping you, right? Sometimes they're afraid that the kind of resources you need to put into this thing is not even available for them to support you. And they're scared for you.
Okay. So they're more of concerned and want to help you. It's not because they want to stop you. Okay, so so you mentioned 3 major things: passion, you have to really be passionate. Then don't be stubborn. If you feel it's not working, please stop. Okay, don't be ashamed to say, oh, I've done this a lot. Okay, just find something else. And then understand that they love you and it's more of concern. Okay, Sophia, you take a question. Someone asks, what advice do you, bring, you have ideas, but you don't have funding. And then because of the lack of funding, you've switched to another dream or idea. You're working on something else while waiting for funding to do that. So what advice do you have to give to this person? But while you take this question, we also want to know, in people seeking funds, they have to pitch their ideas to investors. Are there fears, that people have, and how can they overcome that fear? Because I think this is the challenge this person is having too. So maybe you just take the 2 at the same time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. I'll go with the first one. I think most importantly for the startups, funding is really is important, but is the least on the is the last on the list. The first thing that is the most important is timing. Timing is really important in every business. If you look at how Zoom we're using right now, is one of the biggest companies in the world. And that's during the pandemic. People started using Zoom for work and all that. And then it became a blur. That's the timing. Also, if you look at Airbnb, Uber, and all these other companies, you see that they have very little funding, but yet they are top on the list. Then if you check companies that also have had mad funding, they are no more, like Friendster. These companies, you can't hear of them, pets.com, Floors, all these companies are extinct because of, they had bad ideas. They had a lot of funding, but still they're not standing today. So what I'm just trying to say is that timing is really important in every business. Yeah, money is good, but timing, the ideas, the team execution, these things are very important when you're starting a business, just planning, very important. Then the second question, which is when you pitch your idea to investors, apparently, the right thing to do is to give them an NDA, the non-disclosure of agreement. But most times, a lot of people, I think a lot of people that think abstractly might just be like, you're coming to ask for my money, and then, you don't trust me. So why do I have to sign this? So they feel offended by, the NDA. So they don't even go into that signing. They don't, sign these things. So the main point is that I'm just trying to say is that if they don't do the NDA, as you want to protect your idea, you should first of all go with document trailing. Document everything you do with anybody. Just in case, you have to sue somebody, you've got evidence. And then the most thing I'll probably say, don't ever let the full story out of the bag. don't ever give out the entire information to your investors. Make sure, you know the way you have like a jigsaw and then there's this last piece to, fix the puzzle, and then you can say, oh yes, this is the face of a monkey, that last puzzle that you need to fix, hold it back so that, they don't, so even if they want to execute the idea without you, they must need you. It won't stand. So never let the entire information out of the bag.
Yes. I think that's very essential, because you don't know what will happen, but you need to protect your ideas since that's a special thing you have. So that even if the funds don't come from them, you still have that edge over others. Thank you very much. And I also want to ask, what are some mistakes you've made, trying to start your business, you've made in your career, something we could learn from?
Okay, I think I pointed it out earlier. The first mistake I ever made was I failed to plan. And you know where they say, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So I didn't have a structure. I just wanted to, do the business for myself and, no vision. So after going back to the drawing board and doing things appropriately, instead giving me what's going in, what's going out, who are my competitors, and what will I do differently to make me stand out of the crowd? So these were the mistakes I made earlier, like just doing things shabbishly. And then also not stating exactly the terms and conditions, because I'm very sure when you try to install something, or so you see terms and conditions, that's very important, because should anything happen, I'll hold you accountable. So most time, like in my business, I've got timelines. And then when someone gives me a work to do and gives me something to do, and then, I deliver at the time, and then you come back afterwards and tell me, I'm sorry, I missed this, that's on you, and you have to pay me for another extra time. So if I didn't state out the timeline, anybody can come to meet me at any time, and that will be on me. So most times it's very, very important to state out, timelines, what exactly I'm going to give and what exactly I need from you. So yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's very essential. David, can you hear me? Same question for you. What mistakes have you made, and what can we learn from that, especially with being the co-founder, with paperwork, with tax and the rest of it?
Okay. Well, one of the mistakes I've made with, let's say, co-founders is that when you get people in your team, because you feel that, hey, they know how to program or they have some skills, don't be in a hurry to give them everything. Like, hey, I want to give you shares, I want to give you this. Because I had one employee like that who I wanted to come and work with me on a particular project, the programmer. I gave him the offer so early, and he didn't really value it. Because you need to be sure you're talking to someone who is actually matured, who has gone through experiences in the business world to know the value of what you are offering to him or her. Else, you might lose that a bit. Then secondly, two can work together, if they agree. And in another way, two can work together if their way of thinking aligns. And organizational culture is very important. That's what decides how your company can grow. So you need to be sure that whoever is around you in terms of co-founder agreement, you both share the same value, the same kind of drive. If you are driven by being like the best in the world, and this guy is looking at how to make money to feed his family and buy a house, then look here, you already have a wrong co-founder. Then in terms of taxation and all those things, the government is coming up with new regulations that say companies that are within a particular yearly revenue, less than 25 million naira per annum, and the rest of them, they don't need to pay some tax and all that. So most times, you need to just have a tax consultant. Maybe it could be a friend and discuss with them, especially if you're a startup, because there are a whole lot of, will I say, some freebies opportunity that exist in tax. There's some things you don't actually need to pay for. So that's why you need to, ask questions, speak with people who are your friends, to actually, understand what is actually obtainable. So one other thing you need to do is that follow businesses who are, maybe have mentors who are ahead of you, who are doing the same kind of business and they're ahead of you, draw closer to them. They will give you some tips on how they do a whole lot of things. Mentorship is one of the fastest routes to learning because those guys, they will compress 15 years of experience and give to you in one word. And before you know, you are moving very fast. So one of the mistakes I made was that I wasn't able to, have like a strong mentor earlier. I had great products and the rest of them. They were trying to get them out to the market. There were a lot of issues here and there. Then also, I also advise those of us who want to build startup and businesses. Y Combinators have what they call startup school, right? Go and check those places, register on those platforms, go through their video. In fact, they have one of the best startup schools I know in the world. Their programs are very insightful. They will teach you a lot. And like they mentioned here, money is not everything. The mistake I made at that point, I thought I needed money to get more people, to rebuild my app, to do a whole lot of things. But sometimes we make a mistake of not knowing that what we have is even very valuable. You can start with what you have. If you don't know how to start with what you have to achieve something, then you don't even deserve the money at all. So you need to know, how can I use what I have? How can I, even patch it and even make it, maybe they call it an MVP, a product that somebody can even use, and I get feedback and get the best out of it. So there's a whole lot of talk around there, but I hope I'm going to make some points to some people.
Yes. We've learned a lot from these few things, okay? Ensure you really have people that are like-minded, not people that want to blow, with the way you use it in Nigeria, okay? And ensure that you have mentors too. They can just save you a lot, okay? So, and then know that you have resources that you need, and learn from people. So you recommended Y Combinator. I think I've gone through that too. So
their staff school. Their startup school. Yes, very free. It's free for everybody.
Yes. So if you're interested, search them up and try and see if you'll be in any cohort. Thank you very much, David. Thank you, Sophia, too. Also, a question is here for you. Says we see your business is focused on community development. So how do you monetize it for sustainability? Uzo, are you here? You can unmute and talk to us.
Yes, I am. Just because your business is a social impact business doesn't mean it shouldn't make money. There are lots of business models that are applicable to different businesses that are community focused. For us, our model is called Cooling as a Service, where farmers pay to use the facility to store their produce. So essentially, like some of those farmers who come from villages and they do not have storage facility, they use our facility as a storage facility, and then they now try to sell their produce from there. Like when those they are unable to sell, they keep them and they pay you daily. So that way it keeps the project sustainable. And because of the nature of the work we do, where a lot of people know we work with farmers, we work with farmers. We essentially are now food aggregators as well. So some food businesses also rely on us to aggregate produce from farmers. So essentially we connect farmers to the food businesses and also charge some fees for that. So that way we keep our social impact business sustainable. So it depends on what you're doing, and you figure out a model that works for you.
Oh, that's great. That's great to know. Okay, so you just find a way, have a model, and then it helps you. And someone asked here, how did the academic result help you to get to where you are? Was it really helpful? The person didn't say who the question was directed for, but any one of us can take it. Do you think your academic result was helpful in getting you to where you are? Thank you.
For me, I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say so because now I have always been interested in this space from my time as an undergraduate. So immediately I finished from school, I basically entered the field and I've been working ever since. So I wouldn't say my results played a role in the direction I chose in my life. But what I would say that the relationships I formed in UNN are basically the solid foundation that built my career. Starting from my co-founder, I met my co-founder was a fellow engineer who I was in school with in UNN. Most of the partners I've worked with are also people I met in UNN. So it's, for me, it was more of the people I met that have been useful for me. That's just because, of course, I started working in this space as a student. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I think it's not just for you. I think it's same for everybody. I mean, okay, Ndukwe, you can.
Yeah, there are different dimensions to this. Normally, what your certificate is supposed to show is that someone has said you can do something, right? Someone says you understand something very well, and that is your school. Now, in the early days of your career, if you're going to be a part of anything, they don't know you, right? So they want to know, does anybody say you can do this thing? So usually when you are going for a first job, they're interested in your certificates. But after that one and the second one, people don't get interested in these things anymore. They want to see what you've done. So your certificate is also very important in your early days of your career. Then after that, people will be more interested in what have you done? Do you have a testimony of your work in the last years that you've worked? So your certificate is important in early days, and your experience is very important in the later days. Thank you.
Okay. So that's a vital point. Okay, but one thing I noted in all of you is that somehow your passion started in school. Sophia mentioned about his AfriHub experience, and Ndukwe, I know you did a lot of designs in school. Uzoshuku and David, you also talked about the experiences you had in school. You know, so somehow being in school it could be helpful, not just with the result, but with the relationships developed. So let's note that. And David, this question is for you. You know, you're really someone who has a lot of disruptive ideas. I've seen that even in this few minutes we've talked here. And we have students like that. So the problem is that they're so passionate, they're so eager, and then at the end they neglect their schoolwork. Okay. So what's your take on this? What's your advice? How do we help?
Okay, this is a very hard question on one end, but I will answer it from two ways. You know, most times what we learn in school, right, is not what most times are not really what you really use in the work environment. What you learn in school is more like a foundation on which you can build on. It helps you cultivate resilient skills. Like students from UNN are not very resilient. They are very, you know, very strong, very diligent, you know, in work because of the kind of stress they go through our systems and all that. You know, it helps you build some kind of character for you to be able to stay on one thing and go forward. Then on the other hand, I also have somebody who's a friend, and you know, at least I'm some years ahead of him in UNN. He came into electronic engineering. He left, went to computer science. Later, he dropped out. He's a software engineer, earning, you know. In fact, he even earned more than some of the high-level lecture, you know, academic staff in university. Than the standard, he earns higher than that now. But you know, for the fact we say that, you know, sometimes you don't even know the journey these people went through. Even when I even left, you know, Excella to start my own thing, I went through serious tough time, you know. Why? Because it was like a crash course for me. I had to start learning everything afresh. I thought I knew business. I had to start learning everything afresh. Even till now, I'm still learning at this point in time. I'm still learning about business. You know, I started looking at me and I say, wow, look at opportunities I missed. You know, I've been to at a point where MTN called me to a table because of some affiliation I have with a foreign company, Hackathon. How can we run this thing? You know, and I went there and I gave them one very kind of prize. Even so, as I brought that kind of costing, even the white guy who was like my supporter, he just did a disclaimer straight. You know, it's not as if one wanted to be greedy, but you know, there's still some things you need to learn in terms of, you know, maybe people, pricing, you know, some kind of personal skills. Maybe you being able to complete a job. You know, some people, they just keep on trying this and that. And when they are not focused on one thing. When they go and start providing service to people, they never complete a job. And if you never complete a job, you can never grow to be something great, you know? So it's one advice I would give to you is that, you know, while you are there in school engineering, look for a way for you to combine. The fact is this, we are smarter than we think we are. Just that most time when we're in school, we decide to be dull and not task and push ourselves. We are really, really, really smarter. You know, sometimes you hear people saying at their fourth year or final year that if I knew what I knew, I wouldn't have failed ME 261. I wouldn't have failed ME this. I wouldn't have, because at the end, you discover that courses in school, especially in engineering, you know, it's like if you have some information, some real past questions, some real solution sets, some real materials, you know, and prepare yourself and follow those things, you know, you could come out. The guys that come out with first class in university are not the most intelligent people. That's just the truth. They are just consistent people. That's all. The difference between someone who's making a first class and someone who's making like maybe a 2-1 or, you know, a top class is consistency. It's not those guys that are too intelligent. When they are out of class, they try to study what they've been taught, and they continue that way. They don't joke with their CA. CA is one powerful decider. I would have come up with a 2-2 because I didn't take my CA. I'm somebody I always read when it's near to the exam. But in my first year, my CA will have been pulling me down. At my exam, I would score 60 something, 50 something, but I joke my CA. You know, but I had to adjust. And before I was able to come out with a good grade. So what I'm telling you, you can multitask. While you are in school, you can be doing business and still be in class. Look, you know, it's just about you being able to free your mind. And sometimes we can meet a jam morning and feel, this is how life is, and you rush in. Let me live with this scenario of a proverb, like a parable. When a clay pot, the only time the potter can build a clay pot for it to become a beautiful shape is when it's still wet and it's not dry. But you know, if that clay pot runs out of the hand of the potter, you know, to the outside world, and it has not been formed into the best and perfect shape, what happens is that clay pot becomes dry and it's tough. And even when you get that clay pot back, to be hard for the potter to reshape that clay pot. And the only way the potter, if that clay pot needs to be remolded to a perfect state, is for the potter to break that in and take it through a tough process. So most time when you rush out and you crash, your rebetting process, your revamping process is a very painful process. So our advice is that let's try to work with mentors and the rest of them, seek advices, and, you know, try to make the best decision. And God will help us make the best decision. Thank you.
Yes, that's very essential. In fact, try and combine, okay? Don't neglect one for another. I mean, the first reason you're even in school was because you needed to get that knowledge. So even if you feel you're very disruptive, you've had ideas, you've had good businesses, still try and finish the main reason why you came, but find a way to combine it with what you're doing. I think I'm also giving this advice as a lecturer. I mean, I meet so many students, and this is one of the things we find. But the truth is, you're just looking at the short term, you know, you're not looking at the long term, because like Ndukwe said, the first thing they'll ask you is, what certificate do you have? Oh, I now see, okay, now let's move on to what you have to offer. So these things are essential. Find a way to combine everything. And someone asked a question around this. Someone said, I built a software for schools. Please, can I get tips on how to convince my clients, that the school proprietor, to use the software? And I would want Ozoshiku to take this, because the question I want to ask you now is, how do you attract competent employees? Okay, this is about employees, but employees then talk about clients too, okay? And what do you look out for during recruitment? So take the two questions together. Thank you.
Okay, I'll start with, how do I convince clients to use my product? Personally, my own personal experience running a business where you have to convince clients to use your product is usually clients. One, you have to be solving a problem for the client, and you have to be solving a problem for the client, the pain point that the client has, and your solution should make the client's life significantly better or significantly easier, or help the clients make more money. Just improve things for the client. Then the client has to actually believe in your credibility and believe in your credibility and believe that you're actually competent enough to deliver on what you want. On the issue of being competent, I feel competence and credibility is something you build over time. If you impress somebody on a small thing, tomorrow the person would want to trust you with a bigger thing. Even though I'm in the solar energy space, I still keep getting IT projects. Like I have customers who, just because I deployed solar in their house and they feel like I did a very good job, they now start telling me that there's this website they want to build. Sometimes I don't even see the correlation, but I now start start introducing them to guys who I feel are competent. It's just because I've been able to prove myself competent in one area, and people now feel if he's competent here, then he can be competent everywhere.
Yes. That's essential.
Yeah, so it's just something similar to that thing David said. That David said, finish projects. Always try to finish any project you start. So it's a personal principle I've always had, that even if of course, as an upcoming engineer, there are sometimes somebody gives you a project and you undercharge. And when you now start the project and you realize how difficult it is, you realize you're undercharged, just find a way to finish it because you gave your word. The kind of credibility it gives you is not something money can buy. That you said you were going to do something and you do it. Even when things get difficult, you just need to prove credibility. I know that one of my most valuable customers today is a customer who, I'm sure everybody here knows how expensive batteries are for like in solar projects. So I once had a manufacturer who I sourced batteries from who supplied me poor quality batteries. So we deployed it for a customer. It was lots of batteries, and each of those batteries are like almost 140K each. And I think we had about 16 at that customer's place, and they failed. I promised the customer I would replace it, but my suppliers refused to. My suppliers agreed to fix the problem, but they didn't fix it on time. So it took lots of back and forth. I had to find a way to raise money and replace that client's batteries, even though it wasn't my fault. And it took my suppliers almost a year before they finally replaced the batteries for me. And I was able to manage the client in such a way that the client realized, okay, these guys didn't run away when things got difficult. Until today, that client is our biggest noisemaker who keeps telling everybody why Manamu's Electric is the best.
Oh, that's
and how
great.
You get so
Yes,
and it's funny because when we were having that issue, the lady was calling me 3 a.m. in the night. I can't sleep just because she wasn't happy about it. But I was able to calm everything down and manage situations. And now she calls me if she needs CCTV, she will call me. If she needs, I'm serious, if she needs websites, she will call me. If she needs anything, because she feels like, okay, these guys are competent engineers. So you just have to find a way to prove that you're credible. So even if, for instance, the client doesn't know you, the person who needs your solution doesn't know you, there should be somebody who that person knows, who that person respects enough that can put in a word for you. And sometimes people trust you based on recommendation. Then and that major factor for me when it comes to convincing people to use my solutions is, personally, I prefer to, of course, this is personal opinion, I prefer to pitch to the already converted. I feel like I'm wasting my time trying to talk to somebody about software, somebody who doesn't believe in software. It's just like for me in the solar space, there's lots of people who believe that solar technology is the future. It's just that perhaps they cannot afford it or some issues. But when those people who come and tell you solar does not work, I don't talk to them. I tell you, okay, it's not my responsibility to convince you because it's usually very hard. You spend hours and they ask you questions. So they ask you questions. Maybe sometimes you spend 6 months talking to them, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But there are people who already want it. They're just looking for somebody competent to use it. Those are the people I look for. So for someone who is in the software space, for instance, or you have a software solution, I feel like you should go to schools who you feel like, okay, these schools need this. They just need to meet you. Instead of you going to meet somebody and the person doesn't even understand what computer is, and the person now expects that perhaps that you may steal the person's data. It's just lots of hassle for me. So if Nigeria is a very huge market, so your customers are always there for you. And of course, the success of the best way to convert the unconverted is through a project that works. So you can talk all the talk you want to talk, but when you get that first client who was already converted, the person becomes your client and it's working. You can not always use it as a reference point.
Okay. Sorry, we don't have much time.
Okay.
We would have had a lot to talk about. So, what are the most desirable skills you need from a fresh graduate? When you're interviewing a fresh graduate, what desirable skills do you need from the person?
Okay. Well, the way it works is that when you are bringing someone into my team, before you come into the team, I must have created a vacancy for you. And what that vacancy entails is that there's a position and there's a responsibility, right? So if your responsibility is going to be in a construction responsibility, like you are working in our construction projects, I'll be looking to see how you appreciate quality, right? The quality of work you are doing. I'll be looking to see whether you understand the concept of precision. Can you demonstrate it? Do you understand the concept of accuracy? Can you demonstrate it? I'll be checking whether you understand the principles of tolerance and fit. If you see it in front of you, can you identify it? We'll be checking whether you know how to use tools, measuring tools, right? Do you use vernier caliper? If I give it to you, can you measure very well? Digital and manual, do you know how to use micrometer, screw gauge? Can you use a meter rule if I give you one? I'm looking out to see whether you understand how tools operate, right? You'll be given a hacksaw to see whether you even know how to fit it together in the first place before you can use it. Do you even know which direction is the direction of force and which one is the cutting direction and which one is the reverse direction? I want to know whether you understand this thing.
Okay.
I'm even looking out to know whether you know how to manage the forces that work around it. Then I'll also be looking at whether you're a team player or not.
I have to cut you short here because we should round up at 5. But essentially, what I get is you'd have to really have the engineering skills needed for that. Do you look out for soft skills when you're employing someone? Do you look at their attitude to work or things like that?
Yes, I was going to that. We are looking out for people who are team players too, right? And we'll be looking at how you respond to things. Like if you ask you a question, the kind of tone you use to respond to me is very essential to me. I'll be watching your body languages to understand how you even think of the person asking you the question. Are you friendly or are you confrontational? All those things matter to us.
Okay. Thank you very much. So it's essential because for me, I've also seen that some people are good, they have the brains, but the attitude is not there, and it's difficult to work with someone that can't communicate or it's grudging or doesn't even want to work with people. And like you said, teamwork is one of the essential skills that is needed now in work. Thank you very much, Ndupe. Sophia, so we see you're pursuing a PhD in artificial intelligence for predicting solar outcome. Is there a possibility that your research findings will, translate to bigger business?
Of course, as you know, like AI is the next big thing. Well, in countries like Japan, developed countries already, it's already a big thing. So using AI to predict, the solar outcome of, knowing when the sun is going to generate, give a lot of radiation. Using AI to also check, maintenance. We don't need to go to site. We can be wherever we are and check what's going on site. Obviously it's a big thing already. I don't know about Nigeria, how big AI is, but here in Japan, it's already big and they're already utilizing almost everything.
So we wish you well. We wish you a bigger business on that note.
Thank you very much.
So thank you very much. We've taken a lot of questions. We may not have been able to take your questions directly if you sent in a question, but we found a way to, bring it into either the questions that were asked directly or maybe someone else's question. So because we are in short of time now, I would want to have your last words, our panelists. So what advice would you give someone, a fresh graduate or an engineering student who is aspiring to be a business owner or to be employed somewhere? Just give us that and your final words. And I'll start with you, Uzochukwu. Thank you.
My final words are, engineering is a team sport. I don't think you can do it alone if you want to grow. Even if you can do it alone, you'll be very slow. So learn to work with people, leverage relationships that you build in UNN, your fellow students, your fellow classmates, even some of your lecturers who are student friendly. Just build those relationships and try to partner so you can scale as fast as you can. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. So build relationships, maintain them, partner. While you're in school, don't wait to be out to do that. Sophia and you, can we have your final words and advice for the students?
Okay, I'll say just to what Uzochukwu said. if you go alone, you go fast. You know, if you go with people, you go very far. So I just think having the engineering certificate is just what qualifies you as an engineer to be heard. But having a skill will probably sustain you in the industry. So very important. Keep developing yourself as much as you can. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. So develop yourself, but then have relationships, like the first person said. Ndukwe, can we hear you?
Okay. The way I look at it, I think everybody is out there waiting to be served, right? So the best thing anyone can do for himself is to prepare yourself to serve and make sure that what you are serving is what people want. And trust me, it's going to be fine.
Yes, you will make it. You'll make it. Thank you very much. David, let's hear you, your final words and your advice.
Okay, yeah. So my final word is this: while you are out there going through the curriculum of the university, approved by NUC, try to learn something extra that will make you stand out, because employers are looking for that extra thing. Then secondly, when you leave school, the first place you work in your first 2 years will determine your career path. So don't be focused on money, because I have people who graduated with me, they are in the bank industry and they're not happy. I have people who are earning well, but they are not happy, right? There are people who are not earning so well, but they are happy because they are doing what they want to do and they have hope for a great future. So don't pursue money in your first 2 to 4 years or 5 years after graduation. Look for a place where you can build a career path. Even if you want to build a business, working in a structured organization will help you to learn how to structure your business. If I didn't work in the Etisalat and some other places, I wouldn't be running my business the way I am running it now. If you are privileged to work in a structured organization, pick it up. If you can't get it, then try to get some training. Like they say, work with a group of people. Then your first customers when you start your business are your friends, family, even your network in school. So don't joke with those networks, even down to lecturer. In fact, there was a time I got some lecturers in UN and gave me some jobs to do for them, and it was really a really good one. And I've gotten 1 or 2 things out there. So build your network, get the best out of it, be optimistic. Don't be tied down. The internet is your friend. Look for opportunities, apply for scholarships. There are a lot of scholarship that they give to students who are still students. They travel abroad, see what's going on out there. Just get information. Don't be locked up. Ask for information. Join blogs. Read a whole lot of things. The information is out there. I'm a self-taught programmer. Everything I know in technology, I had no teacher. I learned it all by myself. So if I can do it, anybody out there can do it because we have the capacity. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you again, our panelists. I mean, this was rich. This was, wherever you find yourself, you just you have ideas here that will put you in the right track. So we are really grateful. In summary, I think I'll just summarize in these few words what everybody said. 1, work for impact. Make sure that whatever you're doing, you're serving someone. Don't be money first, okay? Look at the impact, the service, whatever it is it's giving people. Find that, focus on it, and then you see other things coming in. And go for meaning in life too, don't just do it because you want to, somehow you mentioned about someone that has a lot of money, but it's not satisfied. Okay. And then be versatile, learn. There is a lot to learn from. There are resources to learn from. There are people to learn from. And that's where mentorship comes in. So that's very key. And then everybody emphasized on relationships. Maintain those relationships. Have integrity. And seek out opportunities that will help you. We want to thank everyone that participated. I mean, you, the audience, those that are here with us, and those that's the people on site, and then the people that logged in online from all over the world. Thank you for being here. I mean, if you were not here, we wouldn't have had this. It was quite a rich session, and we are here. We are thankful you're here to listen to us. If you have questions, you can meet any of us, the organizers, or you can send email to us, okay? We'll be able to take it. If we can't answer it, we'll take it to those that will do that. We want to thank our funder, especially now, the Royal Academy, the Engineering X project was a collaboration with the Royal Academy of Engineering and the Lloyd's Register Foundation. And we are really thankful the career fair is not just here, but it's so rich. And we had these people here. Thank you very much. Thank you, our panelists. Thank you, the audience. And thank you for being here. Have a very great day. Goodbye.